Imagine you are standing in the middle of a vast African savanna. From the dry grass, a lion steps out. Your eyes immediately focus on the sharp fangs, the razor-sharp claws, the rippling muscles, and its deadly hunting speed. Next, a crocodile slithers up from the water. Then, an eagle spreads its wings in the air. Finally, a prehistoric human appears, almost naked and completely empty-handed. If you put these four creatures side by side, the human is probably the last candidate you would choose to be the most dangerous predator. Our ancestors did not have large fangs, no claws, no venom, no armored scales. Our sprinting ability is far inferior to countless other animals. Even a fully grown human absolutely could not kill a large prey bare-handed. However, look at history. Mammoths, giant whales, lions, bears, or sharks all ultimately became the prey of humans. So how did a relatively weak primate, inferior in almost every physical stat, rise to become one of the most influential predators on the planet? To understand this, we must travel back in time a few million years ago. A common misconception is that we often picture human evolution as a straight line, from an ape standing up to become a hunter and then immediately becoming the ruler. But reality is much harsher. Ancient hominins lived in a world overflowing with big cats, hyenas, giant crocodiles, and countless carnivorous beasts that are now extinct. In that world, the role of our ancestors changed constantly. Sometimes we were scavengers picking up leftover food, sometimes opportunistic meat eaters, and very often we ourselves were the prey. Archaeological evidence shows that from about 2 to 2.5 million years ago, hominins knew how to use stone tools to process animal carcasses. Therefore, before becoming hunters who took down large beasts, our ancestors had to learn how to scavenge the most nutrition from a dead carcass. And that is when a sharp stone edge forever changed history. With just a purposefully chipped stone, our ancestors were able to slice skin, cut meat, dismember joints, and break the hardest bones to extract marrow. The heavily scratched bone fragments at archaeological sites are direct evidence showing how technology expanded access to meat sources. Think about this. To bite through the thick skin of a prey, lions had to go through thousands of generations of evolution to acquire a new fang. Meanwhile, a prehistoric human only needed to bend down and pick up the right stone. Biological evolution takes tens of thousands of years, but cultural evolution takes only a few minutes. However, having a stone knife in hand when the animal is already dead is one thing. Figuring out how to kill a living horse without letting it kick you to death is a completely different problem. This is when the physique of our species began to show its effect. Humans are not excellent sprinters, but we possess an incredible ability for long-distance endurance running. This persistent mobility gave humans a new survival option. Even so, endurance was not the only miracle that turned us into apex hunters. There is another, less noticed ability that carried devastating lethality for prey, which is distance. Many primates, like chimpanzees, also know how to throw objects, but only humans are exceptionally brilliant at creating throws that are extremely fast, extremely accurate, and carry destructive energy. The biological structure of the human shoulder, torso, and arm allows us to store and release elastic energy just like a giant slingshot. This anatomical feature appeared about 2 million years ago. This is the exact moment the rules of nature were broken. The weapon of a lion is its body charging directly at the prey. But a human uses their body to transfer energy into an object, and that object will pierce the prey. For the first time in the history of the Earth, a weapon did not necessarily have to be in the same place as its user. The distance between the hunter and the prey was increasingly widened, from bites to wooden clubs, then spears, and finally, projectile weapons. Archaeological discoveries in Europe of wooden spears dating back to the Middle Pleistocene era show that our ancestors possessed incredibly complex hunting weapon sets. Over 120,000 years ago, Neanderthals also left deep wounds on deer bones, proving they used spears to stab at close range. Hunting giant prey with handheld weapons was an extremely risky job. A hunter holding a spear and charging at the prey still had a very high risk of losing their life. But 10 hunters knowing exactly what they had to do was a completely different story. And this is the strangest part. If we only had spears, we still could not explain the dominance of humanity. In nature, wolf packs also know how to hunt together. Lions also hunt in groups. Killer whales have extremely complex cooperative tactics. Cooperative hunting is not the exclusive privilege of humans. Our most special and terrifying trait lies in the capacity to plan, assign roles flexibly, learn techniques from others, and preserve that knowledge through countless generations. Imagine a hunt. The first person has the ability to read footprints. The second person memorizes every corner of the terrain. The third person is excellent at crafting sharp spears. And the fourth person knows exactly where the prey usually drinks water. No single individual possesses every survival advantage, but all of that power rests squarely in the hands of an entire community. And the core of this superpower is precisely cumulative culture. Other animals also have oral culture, or passed-down behaviors, but human culture does not just pass down, it continuously accumulates and upgrades. The previous generation invented stone tools. The next generation did not have to start over from zero. They attached that stone to a stick to create a spear. The next generation turned the spear into a bow and arrow, and the next after that created sophisticated trapping systems. When a great snow leopard dies, most of its ultimate hunting skills will also die with it. But when a wise hunter falls, his spear, crafting techniques, and stories about the terrain will live forever in the minds of those left behind. Thanks to cumulative culture, humans did not have to wait for biological evolution to adapt to every new environment. A polar bear, wanting to live in the freezing region, is forced to evolve a thick layer of fat and a white coat. But a human, wanting to live in the Arctic, only needs to learn how to sew warm clothes, build snow tents, and make specialized fishing technology. Other predators are forced to specialize biologically, while humans increasingly specialize culturally. Our bodies remained almost exactly the same when moving from the hot, dry savanna to the desert, from the freezing tundra to the crashing coastal shores. But our survival toolkit changed completely. And with that ecological flexibility, we began to set our sights on the most gigantic creatures. Mammoths, giant ground sloths, large hooved mammals, and even marine mammals. While blaming humans entirely for the extinction of giant animals is an oversimplification, because it is also closely related to climate change and habitat loss. But the undeniable truth is that the arrival of humans created an unprecedented, massive pressure. From a small primate specializing in scavenging leftover meat, we rose to become a species capable of determining the fate of the largest animal populations on land. But right here, there is a truth that will surely shock you. Humans are actually not at the top of the food chain. If you have ever seen food chain charts in textbooks, with plants at the bottom, herbivores in the middle, and carnivores at the top, you might think humans are the pinnacle of the pyramid. Forget that image. According to scientists, when calculating the trophic level based on the global diet, humans only reach about 2.21. This level places us on par with omnivorous pigs or anchovies, instead of sitting at the same table with apex predators like lions or polar bears. So, is calling humans the ruler wrong? Absolutely not. We are just asking the wrong question. The issue is not how high we stand in the food chain, but how much of the entire food web on Earth we are capable of extracting and exploiting. The scientific community has called humans by a much more terrifying term: the super predator. Compared to predators in nature, human hunters and fishers have a tendency to slaughter adult prey at an unusual rate. A global study shows that the rate at which we exploit adult individuals is 14 times higher than other animals. Humans do not just eat herbivores. We eat carnivores, birds, fish, marine mammals, and even exterminate the very predators that are directly competing with us. Humans do not dominate nature because we stand the highest, but because we possess an exploitation range and a capacity for extermination on a scale that evolution never anticipated. Let us return to the sunlit savanna at the beginning of the story. Still, the lion, the crocodile, the eagle, and the empty-handed prehistoric human. But this time, do not just look at his naked body. Zoom your perspective further out. Standing behind that man is an entire tribe, a blazing fire, sharpened spears, sophisticated trapping systems, and a network of knowledge passed down through tens of thousands of years. Humans did not become the dominant predator because we are the strongest, not because we run the fastest, and not just because we have a large, solitary brain. We won thanks to a grand loop. Standing upright on two legs helped free the hands. Free hands created tools. Tools brought more meat. Meat nourished a complex brain. The brain promoted cooperation and the exchange of knowledge. Knowledge helped create better tools, access more prey, and then gave birth to generations with even more superior knowledge. The weapon of a lion is its claws. The weapon of a wolf pack is their fangs and the pack itself. But the superpower of humans is not just intelligence, but a shared intelligence. Nature did not help humans conquer the food web by handing us the most powerful weapon. Nature handed us something much stranger and more terrifying. It is the ability that with every passing generation, we invent our own peerless weapons with our very own hands.